It's over, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. Let's go home. Let's go home. Before this video gets off, I just want to quickly say that I have a Twitter account. I don't use it that often, to be honest. It's just, every now and then. But if you want to keep up with my stuff a little more regularly than just the random ass videos every few months, go on there. I occasionally give my thoughts on stuff like shitting on Netflix's dumbass decision to air JoJo's in batches. But yeah, just go give it a follow if you're interested in that kind of shit. If not, I don't really give a fuck. You can stay here or whatnot. Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica is a very popular franchise, and rightfully so. Its third episode is infamous and is one of the perfect definitions of a deconstruction. So it is unsurprising that this series has garnered a fair amount of spin-offs in many different forms, including manga, light novels, and games. So with all the amazing spin-off source material that builds up the original series and other characters in that series, what does Studio Shaft decide to do? Adapt a fucking gacha game story with none of the old cast, or staff for that matter. Finally, Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica's side story, Magia Record, has wrapped up airing and the story is complete. I have already made 2 rather famous videos on the subject, so this is the final one. This video will reiterate some of the big things I have said in the previous 2, adding on to those points now that the story is finished, but you should go watch those 2 videos anyways. So first off, I will start by quickly going over the final 4 episodes that dropped and then giving my thoughts. It starts off with Nemu finally explaining what happened. Turns out, Iroha made a wish for the sick Ui to get better and sealed her fate as a magical girl. Because of this, Ui, along with Toka and Nemu, decide to make a contract themselves. The 3 of them wish to steal Kyubei's powers so they can create a system where Ui collects all the impurities from Magical Girl's soul gems, Toka transforms that energy, and Nemu manifests it into something Magical Girls can use. It backfires and turns Ui into a witch, but at the last moment, Toka and Nemu take some of Ui's soul and trap it in the Kyubei, making that baby Kyubei. This, however, erases Ui from the world, which is where Iroha and Toka and everybody forgot about her. After learning the truth, Toka and Nemu strengthen their resolve and fly Embryo Eve, or Ui, who is a witch, to try and suck up Walpurgis Not in order to make the Doppel system worldwide and fix its flaw. However, this would result in a huge shockwave and destroy the city, so all the girls team up and stop them. Along the way, Kuroe turns into a witch and Iroha has to kill her. Nemu and Toka realize their mistake and comes to terms with their fate, but then, what was her name again? Alina shows up and fuses with Embryo. Toka and Nemu sacrifice themselves and the day is saved. Sort of, as Walpurgis goes to meet Takihara City, wiping it out, and we see Homura vanish into the next timeline. So this video is kind of an organization of all my thoughts from the first 2, and it allows me to look back at what I said and reevaluate if my criticism was justified. So was it justified? It was. I was right. This show was fucking trash. And if any Madoka fan asks me if it's worth it, the answer would be no. So let me explore each of the points as to why this show sucks. First off, the biggest problem I have with this show, which I ragged on a lot in my first video, is the Doppel system. Fundamentally, as a storytelling device for a show set in the Madoka universe, it is fucking trash. Magical girls are fated to turn into witches, and that tension can keep you on the edge of your seat. You know that when a magical girl's mental state starts to go to shit, that's it, they're done for. But early on, when this Doppel shit was introduced, it removed all the tension from the story. There was never any fear that Iroha or Yachio would turn into a witch, and if shit hit the fan, they could gain this power up, and they would have their soul gem cleared. This also makes no fucking sense. When a girl's soul gem clouds up beyond return, they turn into a witch, or in this series, a Doppel. A Doppel is essentially a pseudo-witch, so why does it free them from their grief and despair when all it seems to cause them is grief and despair? The Doppel system completely undermines the brilliance of what makes the original Madoka series so good, and it was fucking trash. During the second season, it is revealed that if they use their Doppels too many times, that the Doppel will take over and they essentially become a pseudo-witch. However, Toka and Nemu's plan to fuse Eve with Walpurgis would have fixed this if it had succeeded. So the one bad thing about this system that they write was going to be fucking fixed. So they had to come up with this shockwave shit in order for there to be some sort of reason to stop them. But I will get into that later. The thing is, it also shows that the girls who are consumed by their doppel can be fucking saved. During the final 4 episodes, all the girls are forced into their doppels, and they are saved. While the 2 people who saved them do end up sacrificing themselves, it is still possible for them to return from being the pseudo-witch. So all in all, this doppel thing really isn't bad, despite them trying their hardest to make it out like it's the worst thing for magical girls, which is fucking ironic considering their fates. The doppel system was just a frustrating way to introduce plot armor for the main characters and a horrendous attempt at trying to make the bad guys look bad. Speaking of the supposed bad guys, the wings of Magius and Toka and Nemu aren't actually any bad. I said it quite a bit in video 1, but with everything laid bare, that remains true. They want to save magical girls, and we're about to do just that by perfecting a system that would have saved magical girls from ever becoming witches. Throughout the first 2 seasons, time and time again, all that Iroha and her friends could argue was that it isn't right, and they shouldn't do this, and nonsense like that. Before we learned about the shockwave, there was literally zero downside to this doppel thing. Therefore, the wings did nothing wrong. I made a prediction in my first video. Now, we don't know why they're hoarding witches and spreading rumors, but it'll probably be revealed that the doppel system operates on the pain and suffering of those trapped in the rumors, which was wrong. The doppel system works because they're taking witches, you know, those things that hurt people and magical girls risk their lives to defeat, and we're feeding them to Embryo Eve, or Ui. Now, if my prediction had been correct, then yeah, okay, the system would have been shit, because it relied on the pain and suffering of others. But the wings were literally doing nothing wrong. This system was not relying on the pain and suffering in others, and it was taking already pre-existing witches and feeding them to Embryo Eve. It was only revealed later on how the doppel would take over, and was immediately written out by the fact that A, they could have been saved, and B, that the fusion of the 2 major witches was gonna fix that. The only thing that they could do to make the bad guys seem like actual bad guys was devise some random ass plot device where the witches combining would devastate the city. So let's talk about that shockwave and in turn, the ending. If Walpurgis Knot and Embryo Eve combined, it was going to create a shockwave that was going to devastate the city. But, well, let me just show you some of the wide shots of the aftermath of the battle to stop this shockwave. Does this look like a city that's been saved from an impending explosion to you guys? Because it sure as fuck doesn't to me. So let's recap. The only bad thing about these 2 witches combining is that they would create a shockwave and devastate the city and kill tons of innocent people. But then the battle to stop said shockwave devastated the city and in turn killed tons of innocent people. So the only reason the writers could think of for a hero to actually stop this supposed bad event ended up happening anyways. Good job. You know, what if combining the 2 witches wouldn't have sent it out of control? Or what if they could have devastated the world and blown it up? Of course, I'm not advocating for a whole city of people to be killed for the greater good, but when you see how much damage the battle did, the good guys didn't really win at all. Not only is the writing nowhere near the level of the original series, it's just straight fucking trash. And on the topic of that ending, it was super, super bad when you start to think about it. Like, Toka, Nemu, and Ui all ended up dying, which is hilarious because Ui was the fucking reason Iroha started this quest in the first place. All of the girls have now solidified their destinies to become witches, but not before you spend your hard-earned cash on Magia stones to roll for that sweet, sweet limited-time swimsuit mommy banner, haha. Speaking of, just to top it all off, the girls of Magia Record just let Walpurgis Knot head back to Mitakihara City and decided to do absolutely nothing about it. Instead of doing the smart thing and, like, you know, going after the biggest witch ever or something. But I'm glad they didn't retcon the original Madoka series and left it alone. It's just annoying because practically they were literally right in front of the fucking witch. I also love it in shows when the battle is all said and done and a random fucking character that has appeared for about 7 minutes total comes in and becomes the final boss. Like, if she wasn't on screen, I straight up forgot Alina was even a fucking character. She literally does nothing during the series except hint Walpurgis Knot coming back early on, create the barrier around Kamiyama City, and show up to evolve into the big bad. Her sole existence was to make Toka and Nemu have to sacrifice themselves, and be really fucking annoying with her broken ass English. Like, if she got any sort of real ass development, then maybe it wouldn't have been such an ass pool. Kuroe was also completely unnecessary to the plot, and literally died away from the action, and pretty much instantly. They honestly went half-assed in both Alina and Kuroe's backstories, so if they had picked one and spent more screen time developing them, then their story moments would have had way more impact. If Kuroe had developed properly and her witch transformation had been more than just dying to Iroha instantly, it would have been so much more impactful. They literally had an extremely well done example in Sayaka to go off of, but instead we had something about she blocked her boyfriend and then she, like the writers of this fucking show, gave up. And if they had given Alina actual development and proper reasoning as to why she did, instead of just then her coming in at the last second would have been a lot more impactful and reasonable. Instead, as it happens with gacha anime, they try to focus on too many characters at once and it falls flat on its fucking face, making every character seem stupidly shallow, save for like 2 main characters. I already touched upon the gacha aspect, but to quickly reiterate, I get that your games are filled with a wide cast of characters. That's the whole point, you gotta collect them all. But you have to pick and choose who you want to focus on and stick with it. The first season suffered heavily from this problem, introducing some characters and making them the main cast for the first few episodes, before tossing them aside and introducing the real cast of main characters many episodes in. Or you just do like Konkole and make multiple seasons featuring multiple casts that are unrelated. But of course season 2 is going to be some melodrama bullshit about Shigure who... Sorry, that's a tangent for another time. Unfortunately, none of these were my biggest problem with the show, but they are all related to it. I said it perfectly in my second video and I will say it here again. Time and time again, Magia Record fails to tell the right story beats at the right time. For the entirety of Season 1, we had no idea how the Doppel system operated, nor were we told that it had any side effects. So the reveal of the Doppel system early on sapped any tension out of the series, until the second season, where we finally learned that Doppels do produce side effects. But instead of finding out whether the side effects were a simple headache or something like death, they waited until later in the season to finally introduce the idea that Doppels can in fact overtake a magical girl and turn them into a pseudo-witch. Why couldn't one of the many side characters have been consumed by the Doppel early in Season 1, adding tension and worry that the same thing will happen every time Iroha was forced to use her Doppel? Instead of wasting away episodes at a poor attempt to do moe magical girl shit, they could have done an episode on this instead. And why wait? The conversation revealing that there were side effects was already an exposition dump, so just reveal the fact that they will get consumed by the Doppel then and there. You can have mystery in your show. In fact, I sure as fuck hope you do, because that's what's going to keep me coming back. But there's a line between keeping every important detail of mystery until the end and keeping the right important details of mystery until the end. It would have been better if the Embryo Eve reveal was in Season 1, as that would have provided a clear goal for Iroha and her friends instead of just, we need to stop them, but we don't actually know how or what they're doing. But something like the fact that Embryo Eve was in fact Ui as a witch is something I'm fine with being withheld. That it made sense and didn't directly impede the progress of the story. It was a good, late series twist. Honestly, this show failed, and failed hard. The only good part I enjoyed was the first episode of Season 2, which was just 20 minutes of the OG cast and pure fucking animation brilliance. The problem is I can't even praise Shaft's animation for the entire series. Did it have outstanding animation at some parts? Yes, it did. But they also literally released unfinished episodes during the broadcasting of the second season, and the series as a whole was fraught with delays and the likes. I mean, these last 4 episodes were clearly supposed to be part of the second season, but had to be pushed back. To be honest, I'm surprised that Shaft had the balls to drop all 4 episodes at once, considering the absolute state that the second season aired in. The final 4 episodes were solid animation-wise. There was like one good Sakuga moment in the final 4, but the rest was pretty just bog standard, which, it was neither here nor there. Like I said at the start, there are tons of spin-offs to adapt, but instead they chose to butcher the story to a fucking gacha game, which was the ultimate cash grab. I haven't played nor looked into the story of the game, but apparently they changed the story completely. I know not whether the game story is good, nor will I ever find out, because despite this train wreck of a series trying to lure me to play, the NA servers have shut down, and I'm already unhealthily devoted to another non-English gacha game. Unless they are giving out that swimsuit mommy for free, I will not bat another eye at the game. This series as a whole has me seriously worried for the 4th movie, which appears to not even be on Shaft and Gen Urobuchi's fucking radar, since they're doing some RGB, STD fucking LMNOP anime right now. I had no idea they had a 4th planned. I was hoping they would announce a different story anime during the 10th anniversary event, but was pretty surprised and honestly excited when they announced the 4th movie. The issue is, this show has made a lot of that faith waver, and seeing that this movie will almost definitely go through development hell, I am not excited. Since the script was written during Urobuchi's prime, I am hopeful, but not excited. All in all, Magia Record is a failure as an entry in the Madoka franchise, a failure as a magical girl show, and honestly a failure as a basic fictional story. It fails to tell the right plot beats at the correct timing, it undermines the original story and ruins the premise, and the ending is some half-assed attempt at a neutral ending that falls flat on its face when you take a moment to think about it. Those were my complete thoughts on Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica side story, Magia Record. Thanks for watching.